Good morning from the kitchen, folks. Today I'm going to be making some homebrew wine from grapes and mango. So I'm just going to begin by washing my grapes because I'd like them to be as clean as possible. And the same for my mango. Just make sure there's nothing on there which might cause a contamination. So I've got my food blender just here, and all I'm going to do is add all of my grapes into the blender individually. Skins on, but I don't want any of the stalky bits. So this just takes a minute. So that's all of my grapes in the blender. And now I'm going to add some still spring water. And that's topped up to about 1 litre, you can see just there. Now the noisy bit. And what we're left with is essentially a grape and spring water smoothie. I'm sure that some health food fans would like that, but not this one. This is going to be the basis for my wine. So my demijohn is actually a 5 litre water bottle which I've drilled a hole in the top of. And it's just big enough in order for me to be able to put the airlock in. And that is a lot cheaper than buying a new demijohn. So there's a top tip for you. A £1.10 bottle of water is a lot cheaper than spending about £15 on a new demijohn. This has been cleaned and sanitised. So I'm now going to simply pour this is the grape and spring water smoothie, into the demijohn. So this is going to be a very heavily sedimented wine because all of the grape skins and everything else will settle in the bottom as quite a thick sediment, but what it will provide is a ton of flavour. Now it's the turn of the mango. As with the grape, the mango goes in the blender, skin and all, don't worry about that. And again add spring water, topping it up to 1 litre. And now we've got a mango and spring water smoothie, and that also gets added into the mixture. So that is my must, and it's staying in the wine this time. I'm not separating it, I'm not filtering it. It's going to be a sediment heavy wine. So the next step in the process is to add some spring water into the pan. And I'm using spring water, not tap water, because the tap water in Leeds is a bit chlorine-y. And I think it sometimes spoils the taste of wine. And then I'm going to add most of a bag of sugar into that, but not all. And I'll have that on low. And I just want it to simmer and for the sugar to dissolve. And as the sugar dissolves, I'll add more sugar. And I'm going to get all of the sugar in now. So as the water warms, it dissolves really well. Now looking at that, you can see that all of the sugar has dissolved and it's just beginning to come to the boil. I don't want it to boil, so I'm just going to turn that off. Oh, there were some little bits of sugar that hadn't dissolved. So I'll just get all that done nicely. Carefully adding the hot sugary water. It's now time to add the yeast. The yeast is what causes the fermentation. I'm using Lalvin Champagne Sparkling Wine and Cider yeast. This will hopefully help me to make a sparkling wine rather than a standard flat wine. And I'm going to add 2 teaspoonfuls of yeast into there. Now because this is a warm mixture, it's not a hot mixture because I've added the hot water to the cold water that was already in there. The yeast will tolerate the temperature of that and it will activate very quickly. And what will happen is that I'll get a build-up of foam as the yeast begins to ferment. So I'm not going to put any more water in for now, I'm just going to leave it for a day or two and simply put the lid on with the airlock, and the airlock will prevent any contamination from entering that from outside. Yep, looks good to me. So that's now done, it's down there with its associates, and I will top it up with cold water higher up in a few days' time. So here's a 1 week update. So the wine's doing really well, it's popping away, but there is a lot of sediment, and I want to be able to top this up, but there's too much sediment. So what I'm going to do is I'm transferring it from this vessel into this vessel. So I'm going to use a siphon to siphon from this wine into the other demijohn. I need to avoid as much of the sediment as possible now. As soon as the upper and lower sediment gets close to each other, I'm going to take the tube out. I'm going to get some sediment, I can't help that, but I'll avoid getting the majority. So this is what I'm left with. I'm just going to try a little bit. Wow, that's extremely sweet. Really fruity. That's got a really nice flavour. Good. In this pan I've just warmed some spring water up. I'm going to add a bit of sugar to it. There's probably near enough half a bag gone in there, and I'm just going to dissolve that. So I'm just transferring this water into a plastic jug. Now with the aid of a funnel, I'm going to add the sugar water into the demijohn. I'm now going to attempt to sieve some of the mixture from the original demijohn into the jug. Okay, so if I take the sieve out, we can see that that's all the fruit pulp. So then I can pour the rest of this and fill the demijohn all the way up. Perfect. And now it's back where it was before with my other demijohns. The next update will be when it slows down fermenting and it's getting ready to be bottled. Okay, some fermentation activity is still visible, but this has really slowed down a lot. This has been one of those wines where it begins really fast and then slows down quite quickly. I'm just going to have a little try of it. It's full-bodied, but it's extremely dry. I think that's done. So I think now is the time to try and clear it. Here goes. So I'm using these Clear It wine finings, and while it's siphoning, I'm going to take bottle A and I'm just going to add a few drops in there. So we're nearly at the bottom now. Okay, then you get that unmistakable rush of air into the pipe. So I'll lift that out. So now I've got the mixture of finings from bottle A and the wine in here. I just need to give it a little bit of a shake around, because you've got to agitate this so the finings mix with it properly. And what you've got to do then is leave it for 1 hour. So I'll come back to it 1 hour before adding the rest of the finings. It's an hour later. Let's get the wine from this demijohn back into this one and get the rest of the finings added. So this time I'm not using the siphoning tube. I'm adding half the wine. This ensures that I'll get a good mix when I add the finings to it. Bottle B. Again, a little drop in. You don't need to add too much, according to the instructions. And then I'm going to stick the rest of the wine in there. I really want it to mix. So all that remains to be done now is to put the airlock back on. And we'll come and have a look at that in a couple of days' time and see if the finings have done anything. Okay, it's 5 days later, the findings have been doing their job, and as you can see, that is fairly opaque. Now, it's not completely see-through, but when that's in a glass it will look just like standard wine. It will look completely clear. So now it's time to bottle. So I'm just currently cleaning my equipment out, as you can see, and I've already prepared 6 champagne bottles for this wine. So there's still a tiny bit of life left in this. It's not really fermenting very much, but there is a little bit of action, and I'm going to reinvigorate that in the bottles, and I'm going to do so by adding a little bit of sugar to each bottle. So I've got roughly a teaspoonful of sugar, and that simply goes into the bottle via the funnel. And I'm going to do that for each of the bottles. So now the scary bit. It's okay. I need to keep the bottom of the siphon tube away from the bitter sediment that's in the bottom of the demijohn now. Okay, so far so good. I've definitely got 5 bottles. I might, if I'm lucky, get a 6th. I think probably 5.5. And that's it. So, as predicted, 5.5 bottles. Not bad though. So I've got my 5 full bottles there, which I will cap. And then I've got the half bottle just here, probably nearer 2/3, which might be providing a little sample. And just to show you, that's what's left in the bottom of the demijohn. Again, it's mostly sediment, and the wine findings have basically grabbed hold of the sediment and made it sink to the bottom. So that's kind of a sediment and findings mixture. So I'm coming live at you from next to the toaster. And here's my bottles. And here's my caps. Okay, that's one cap in, and trust me, that did take some pushing. So I now need to secure that, because what I don't want to happen is for this to come flying off. So these are just recycled ones, which we've had on bottles that we've bought. So it's just a case of securing, pinching, and twisting it in place. There we go, number 1. So it's not quite ready for drinking yet. I want it to get a bit of fizz, but I just thought I'd give it a try now and show you what it looks like in a wine glass. So this is from the 2/3 of a bottle. And as you can see, that doesn't look too bad at all. It does look very winey in there. Slight greeny tinge to the colour. Smells fine, really full bodied. It's got quite a sweet and fruity smell. And there's a really little bit of fizz, but it's extremely dry and extremely flavoursome as well. So I'm glad I packed this one out with fruit. So that was a full punnet of grapes and the mangoes that went in there. That's really flavoursome. So remember, my other bottles have got the sugar in the bottom, and that should hopefully very slightly kickstart the fermentation, which will hopefully lead to more of a sparkle within them. Right, the next film that I'm going to show you with this will be when we open one of the bottles and see if the sparkle worked. Well, hello, ho, 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 from the utility room rather than the kitchen, folks. And I've got my white grape and mango wine, as you can see there. I don't know if you can tell, but that bottle is pretty clear. And it looks good. I don't know if it's going to be sparkling. I'm looking at the activity when I give the bottle a little agitation and I can't see any, so I've got a feeling it won't be sparkling. So if it's not sparkling, well then we'll see what it tastes like. So I'm gonna, the grand unveiling. Oh, and the wire cage is broken. Could have come flying off then, that would have been dead scary. So I did say I wanted this ready for Christmas. Not really a pop there, was there? It was a bit delicate. Here's a glass. Have a look through. So it's not a sparkling wine, it's a still table wine. It smells nice, it smells really fruity. Wow, that's strong. Wow, blow me now. I've no idea what the percentage is, but it does taste quite strong, that. More than 11%. Oh. It's got a good flavour, good body. It's really thick. It's got almost a bit syrupy. Wow, that's really got a really strong fruity flavour. The mango definitely comes through. It's worked well with the white grape. So, despite the fact that it's not a sparkling wine, I still think it's a success. So, cheers folks, down the hatch, and have a lovely Christmas. The film that you've just watched is a Moss Home and Garden production. You can find more by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. I'd just like to say thank you very much for supporting my YouTube channel and for watching my films. It really is very much appreciated. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel in order to receive future updates about the home and garden films which I upload. You can find my YouTube channel by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. Please click on the red subscribe button. When you've done that, a little bell will appear. If you press that also, then you'll get future updates about the films which I upload. If you like my films, if you like my style of filming, then you might also like my travel channel, which you will find by going to youtube.com/Stuart Moss or type in www.mosstravel.tv. Again, if you could subscribe to that channel, it would be hugely appreciated. If you'd like to get Moss Home and Garden updates on Facebook, then please open Facebook and do a search for Moss Home and Garden, and you will find the page. If you like the page, then you will get future updates on there. And if you'd like to connect on Instagram for home, garden and travel photography, as well as some stories, then my username is StuMoss, STUMOSS. If you'd like to connect on Twitter, then my username is @StuartMoss. And if you'd like to contact me about film usage or any other issue, please just email me on stewmosshomegarden@gmail.com. Once again, thank you very much for supporting my channel, for watching my films. I do appreciate it. I'd just like you all to have a great day.